Hello all and welcome to my Darkseed 2 guide reading. You asked for it, so I'm here to deliver. This series is going to span several videos containing the various chapters from the Darkseed 2 strategy guide. And yes, I will include all of the appendices as well. Now, you may be wondering, why read a strategy guide? Well, the author, Leanne Morris, wrote it out almost like a story. Several people, including myself, thought it would be interesting, so here we are. For today's video, I'm going to look at the introduction section and parts of Chapter 1 from the guide. The reason I'm only going to look at parts of Chapter 1 is because that chapter is more of an instruction section for how to play the game and how to set the game up. It also has various gameplay tips, so it isn't the most interesting. In addition to reading those two chapters, I'm also going to read the instruction manual, because it has a section where everything is written from the perspective of everyone's favorite protagonist, Mike Dawson. It also has a beginning walkthrough as well, so I definitely want to cover that to cover everything. There's also some more interesting sections about H.R. Giger, the making of Darkseed 2, and a section about cyber dreams themselves. So I figured, why not? All that said, let's get started. Let's begin. The introduction. As stated here, the original Darkseed opened with a bizarre nightmare sequence in which Mike Dawson dreamed an alien embryo was being forcibly, very forcibly, placed in his brain. So here's what we missed and what's in store. Darkseed 2, as the name implies, is a sequel. The original Darkseed, Cyber Dreams' debut product and a Software Publishers Association award winner for Best Fantasy Role-Playing/Adventure Game, was released in the summer of 1992. 1992. Multimedia technology is so different today that 1992 might as well be the Dark Ages. Yeah, well, that's kind of a true statement. Especially today. Darkseed was quite evolved for the time. It was one of the first games ever to include digitized actors instead of animated characters, and the graphics were in a higher resolution mode than other games at the time. But it was also originally a floppy disk-based game designed in 16 colors for a 386 MHz machine. What a difference a few years make. The macabre artwork of H.R. Giger inspired the first game, as well as Darkseed 2. The Academy Award-winning designer of the film Alien, Giger is famous for surreal biomechanical art that often merges flesh and machinery. His art provided the germ of the idea, no pun intended, that became Darkseed. I don't know if I actually get that pun. Mike Dawson, the name, by the way, is borrowed from the original game's co-producer/co-designer, is a would-be writer who has left his advertising career in San Francisco and moved into a spooky old house in Woodland Hills. But the peace of the suburbs eludes him. He's plagued by splitting headaches and a reoccurring nightmare in which an alien embryo is implanted in his head. It's not long before Mike discovers that the nightmare is no illusion and that he has only a few hours to track down the aliens or ancients. Citation needed on that whole nightmare being no illusion. See the link in the description. In the process, he discovers a dark world paralleling the normal world. Rooms, objects, and characters can be found in the same places in both worlds. But things in the dark world are twisted and evil compared with their normal world counterparts. So I was just thinking, the Keeper of the Scrolls is actually pretty good, so does that make the Librarian evil? Anyway, the ancients have invaded the dark world, but they're not capable of surviving in the normal world. That's where the embryo comes in. A beast that lives off a human should be able to survive in the human world. Luckily, Mike discovers his alien cargo in time and is able to foil the ancients' plan. Using portals that connect the dark world with the normal world, Mike travels to the surreal mirror of his own town and destroys the ancients and their spaceship. The interface in both Darkseed games is basically the same. Question mark icons that change to exclamation points when there's something for you to see, hands that change to pointed fingers when there's something for you to pick up or use, and arrow indicators that multiply when you reach an exit. But in Darkseed 2, several kinks have been worked out that keep the original Darkseed from Hall of Fame quality. For one thing, the 16 color palette of Darkseed was especially limiting because the action unfolded within the window inside of a Gothic frame. Sure, this added to the mood of the game, as well as matching the bizarre quality of Giger's art, but it also created an environment that was practically monochromatic. It was difficult to find inventory items, some of which were only a few pixels big, and frankly, it got boring to watch. The save game feature was also cumbersome. You had an astounding 75 save slots, which tells the experienced adventurer something. You either die a lot, or you backtrack a lot. In the original Darkseed, you do the latter. A lot. Actually, I think you do both, but that's just my opinion. You're constantly finding out details that influence your actions. Your actions of 30 minutes ago, thank you very much. But thankfully, Darkseed 2 uses all the benefits of CD-ROM technology and irons out the difficulties of the first game too. Mike Dawson's troubled existence is still dark and disturbing, but it now includes rich color that enhances the overall atmosphere. Citation needed. Darkseed 2 is an involving and enjoyable graphic adventure that's worth your time. Also citation needed, even though I agree with it. Others don't. Alright, what's ahead this time around? Darkseed 2 takes place a year after the original game. Mike has a tough time of it. His first experiences in the Dark World resulted in a nervous breakdown, and he's retreated to his hometown of Crowley, Texas to recover. But even now that he's back in the bedroom where he grew up, he's still plagued by nightmares. Therapy doesn't seem to help. His psychiatrist doesn't believe his Dark World stories. His mother thinks all Mike needs is a little backbone. The headaches and nightmares would go away if Mike would show a little gumption. Mike's situation doesn't improve when his high school sweetheart, Rita, is found brutally murdered the night of their 15-year class reunion. Mike and Rita, the town librarian, had been casually dating and had attended the dance together, but Mike drank too much and doesn't remember the events following the dance. Considered the prime suspect by the local sheriff, Mike decides he must investigate the killing on his own if he's to clear himself. He soon discovers that Rita's death is the first step in the new plot by the Ancients. The aliens have created a shapeshifter capable of living in the normal world for short periods of time. But even more dangerous than the shapeshifter is the giant behemoth who will be invincible if he makes it to the normal world. Mike's findings become increasingly bizarre as his time becomes increasingly constrained. And always, there are the nightmares and pounding headaches. Welcome to Darkseed 2. So I'd say that's actually a really good synopsis of the first game and intro to the next. Let's move on to Chapter 1. Now, as I stated before, I'm not going to read Chapter 1 in its entirety. There's a lot of sections about game controls, function keys, how to set it up, so I'm going to just pick out two things that I think are kind of interesting. One is the fact that there's something called a boss key. And the boss key is something that you can use if, let's say, your boss walks into the room, if you're playing at work, I suppose. You push that and it switches the screen, which I think is kind of cool. In any case, the next section I want to look at is the general games hint section. So, let's get to it. Darkseed 2 is a fairly straightforward graphic adventure. You'll get stuck a few times, but you really shouldn't hit that wall of frustration that makes you want to put your fist through the PC monitor. Your mission is to help Mike Dawson clear his name. That primarily involves talking to everyone in Crowley at least once, trying your hand at a little detective work, and using a lot of logic when you've reached the Dark World. Is there really a lot of logic to the Dark World? It's been a while since I played it. I don't know. I probably sound stupid now, but that's okay. I'm used to it. Where's it at? Okay, here's some tips for general gameplay. Conversation is of the utmost importance if you're ever to figure out what the Ancients have in mind. That's true because Hank and Hank's Diner knows what's up. In general, the dialogue trees are ranked in order of importance. In other words, the comment at the top is the natural question or answer for the situation, and Mike gets to the next one in due time. A lot of times the comment at the bottom of the dialogue tree puts an abrupt end to a conversation if you skip to it, and you might end up missing some vital clues. To be fair, I never noticed that when I played through it, so that's actually good to know. Alright, the next one is your inventory in the game stays fairly small, and it's not that easy to overlook an item you're going to need later. I don't agree that it's small. I feel like it's actually bigger than the first game. Alright, as a matter of fact, sometimes you get an in-your-face clue when you pick up an item. For example, when Mike retrieves a hanger from the alley behind the pool hall, he thinks it might come in handy for picking lots. Ding ding ding! If a bell doesn't go off in your head, perhaps you don't belong in the realm of graphic adventures. But it's also misleading because that can lead to some game overs later. In any case, looking at items and picking them up or using them are two completely different things. You're doing yourself a disservice if you only use the hand icon, which is the use, talk, or pick up, instead of incorporating the question mark or look icon into your search for the truth. When Mike goes into a room, trawl the scenery, including the people, with the look icon, which turns into an exclamation point whenever there's anything you can view. Then go back to those items with the use icon. If the hand turns into a pointing finger, Mike can interact with that object or person. Or I should say the. So I will say I do have a tendency to replace words in my head with ones I think they should be. So if I misread a word, that's just me being weird. Alright, so if you're stuck, have Mike go back and talk to everyone again. Or go sit on the porch of Mike's house. Jack is Mike's sounding board, and sometimes a conversation with him will give you a clue about your next plan of action. Good old Jack. The Dark World parallels the normal world, so you sort of know your way around right off the bat. Remember that the parallels apply to the people as well as the world's layouts. Objects in your inventory may change form as you move from one world to the next, and often you can't use an item from one world in the other. Mike can't die in the normal world, so it's not as important that you save games there. But once he finds the portal to the Dark World, you need to save games consistently in separate game slots. Not only can Mike suddenly be vaporized into a sludgy puddle, but it's also easier to make missteps in the latter portion of the game. A quick game save might keep you from retracing unnecessary steps. And now, on with the show. Or at least it will be in the next video. With that, on to the instruction manual. Alright, we're going to start off with the story section of the instruction manual here. Like I mentioned before, it's written in first person, coming from Mike Dawson. I'm kind of thinking I want to read it all with my amazing Mike Dawson impression, but maybe just certain parts. We'll see. Has it only been a year? It really seems like more of a century since I took a leave of absence from my advertising agency. All I wanted was some peace and quiet, a place to sit and contemplate, and write. My life as a successful ad man was going great, but I wanted more. I got more. When I went in my house, my dream house in Woodland Hills, I had no idea what nightmares would hatch like spider eggs in my mind. There was the living room mirror and the missing piece that came in the mail, and that was just the start. Oh, I would rather wipe the whole thing from my memory, but I fear I will never be allowed to forget. No one who has seen the Dark World could ever drive those images from his head. No one. I broke down completely after it was over, and took up an unwilling residence in a variety of rest homes and mental wards. In those sterile halls and strapped-down beds, I remembered all too much. There was the Keeper of the Scrolls who first told me about the ancients and their evil plots. Why me? I asked myself again and again. And the ancients themselves, gruesome, horrific, sickening. I thought I had destroyed them when I blew up their spaceship, but the memories, the horror, would not let me go. I thought I had won, but this past year, I've often wondered if death would not have been easier. The dreams. Finally, in a kind of paralyzed daze, I moved back home. Mom was there to take me in, a broken, confused man whose dreams had turned dark and ugly. She didn't really understand my lethargy, my distance. She thought me dreamy. She had no idea what I dreamed. They said I was in good health, but what did they know about the indelible stain of the Dark World? Being home helped a little, and I'd even begun to think about the normal matters of life again. The simple things. You know, like dating and having friends. That's where Rita came in. Rita Scanlon, my high school sweetheart. We hadn't seen each other in a long time, but now that I was back, we were getting reacquainted. Although Rita had changed and was more distant, I didn't worry about it. After all, I had also changed, and in stranger ways than most. We went to our high school reunion together, or so they tell me. I don't recall a thing about it. The night vanished. Just one big black hole in my memory. I think I got drunk. I'm certain that I didn't murder Rita, though. How could I have? It's the dark world. I know it is. They've found me again, and now they've murdered Rita. Sheriff Butler thinks I did it. He'd never believe the truth. Nobody will believe me. And my headaches are getting worse. Dr. Sims keeps giving me medicine and more medicine. He doesn't understand either. I'm tired of being medicated all the time. I'm tired of the headaches. But most of all, I'm scared. The ancients are back. So yeah, there's the story. I kind of wish I had read that back when I made my deep dive, but yeah, I didn't. And that might I might need to do another addition to that just to address the instruction manual and maybe the guide. I think that would be cool too. Without further ado, let's take a look at the beginning walkthrough from the instruction manual. This short walkthrough is intended to help you familiarize yourself with the way Darkseed 2 works. It isn't meant to take you very far into the game, but simply to show you how to use the conversation window and how to explore the world. Mike's bedroom. At the beginning of the game, Sheriff Butler shows up at Mike's door and questions him about Rita's murder. Well, I mean, to be fair, at the beginning of the game, you see Mike running through a dark hallway, but regardless. In this conversation, it doesn't matter which options you choose, but some options will reveal a lot more information. Some of that information might turn out to be useful later in the game, although obvious statements like those about being late for the doctor or having a headache will bring the conversation to a close. When Mike's conversation with the sheriff is over, the sheriff will leave. Now you can explore Mike's bedroom. This is a chance to familiarize yourself with the game controls. So it gives some hints here. Click the right mouse a few times. You notice how the pointer changes. Talks about that, so we won't go over that. See, note when you're using the look pointer. Okay, that's just the question mark, exclamation mark. Let's see. Yeah, we're just going to move on to the next section. The kitchen. Now you're in the kitchen. Mike's mother, Mrs. Dawson, is busy at the stove, as usual. Perhaps she has something interesting to say. Oh boy, does she. But that's not till later, so don't get ahead of ourselves here. With the use pointer, click on Mom. Let's see. If Mike mentioned he's getting a headache, Mrs. Dawson will remind him of his medicine. That's what it's for, she says. Let's see. With Mom, you can discover a few more background facts, but nothing critical. It's just Mom. Let's see. The next point here is once you completed the first conversation with Mom, she returns to her cooking. Click on her again to get a clue about watching TV. Okay. I know that's important, but that's funny. Let's see. So you notice some objects on the refrigerator and the happy face magnet. Mike will take the magnet and put it in his pocket. So let's see. It tells you about looking in the inventory and then making comments about it by using the pointer. Let's see. It's going down here. It's got some keyboard notes. Okay, so yeah. So you get the magnet. It pops up in the inventory, obviously. Use pointer. You can use some things to look at it. I keep flipping the page, but it keeps going to the wrong page. Okay, it also has something interesting here. It says that with the use pointer active, click on the magnet and then move the pointer around the room. Notice that the pointer looks like a hand until you place it over the refrigerator. Then it changes the look like the magnet. This tells you that the magnet can be used with the refrigerator. If you click on the refrigerator now, Mike will return the magnet. To put the magnet back in Mike's inventory, drag the pointer to the bottom of the screen again, opening the inventory window and click on the magnet again. So that's cool. I didn't actually know you could put the magnet back. I'll have to try that next time I play it. And then let's see, it's the The very last thing is, assuming you still have the magnet, there's not much to do. There's not much more to do. Perhaps you'll find something to do in the living room. This is a really bad strategy guide. Anyway, now you're on your own. Good luck. And got this helpful number here. I'm not going to call that, but someone else can if they'd like. Oh, and it even mentions the official strategy guide, which is what we're reading from. $20 plus $6.50 for shipping in the USA. Man, that's rough. Although, to be fair, the price tag on the back of my book says $17.99, and I think I got it for less than that, like maybe $15. So I got it for a steal. Okay, so that wasn't actually as interesting as I thought it would be. I apologize for that. But we did learn that we can put the magnet back on the refrigerator. So again, I'll have to try that out. Anyway, let's move on. Let's read a little bit about H.R. Giger. All right, about H.R. Giger. H.R. Giger was born in, Chur, Switzerland in 1940. Apologize for everyone in Switzerland for probably butchering that. As a child, he developed a powerful fascination with all things surreal and macabre. His need to express himself and share the unique aspects of his vivid imagination drew him to the visual arts. Giger's own dreams and the brilliant imagery of such fantastique geniuses as Gustav Meyrink, Jean Cocteau, Alfred Kubin, and H.P. Lovecraft combined to form a rich soil from which the amazing imagery of Giger's art has come to sprout. It has grown into the vast canon of exotic women, wondrously disturbing landscapes, and frightening creatures that has captured the fascination of millions of fans worldwide. Meticulously detailed, Giger's paintings are done on large canvases and worked and reworked by this maestro of the airbrush. It was Giger's popular art book, Necronomicon, that caught the eye of director Ridley Scott as he was searching for the right look for a creature in his upcoming film. That creature, of course, turned out to be the alien. And Giger's masterful designs for the film of that same name garnered him a much-deserved Academy Award. Giger's fascinating biomechanical style, that brilliant synthesis of flesh and machine, has been realized not only through his paintings, but also through sculpture pieces, elegant furniture, and architectural and interior design projects. His paintings have been displayed in galleries and museums throughout the world. H.R. Giger has earned his place in the international art scene. Alright, there we go. That's neat. And the page right next to it, it's got a bunch of different shout-outs. I see Harlan Ellison and Clive Barker gave a shout-out to H.R. Giger. Neat. Alright, let's move on to the making of Darkseed 2. "It's beautiful," was H.R. Giger's enthusiastic reaction upon seeing the original Darkseed for the first time. As a world-renowned fine artist, Giger was skeptical when Cyberdreams initially approached him about creating a computer game based upon his macabre biomechanical landscapes. He agreed to grant Cyberdreams access to his body of work only after lengthy negotiations. But when Giger saw the great care that Cyberdreams had taken to preserve the elements of his art, he was pleased with how effectively his images translated to an interactive environment. Game players were equally pleased with Darkseed. The game became a sleeper hit, winning the Software Publishers Association's 1993 Excellence in Software Award for Best Fantasy Role-Playing/Adventure Game. Man, that's a freaking mouthful. Anyway, Darkseed players wanted to see more of hero Mike Dawson's nightmarish journey into Giger's dark world, and so Cyberdreams brought in game producer David Mullick to create a sequel. Not only had Mullick developed other adventure games with dark psychological themes, such as The Prisoner and I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, he also admitted to being a Giger fan since high school when he bought an Emerson, Lake and Palmer album with a cover designed by the Swiss surrealist. With the goal of surpassing the high standards set by the original Darkseed, he assembled a development team of the most talented and demented minds working in interactive entertainment. Unfortunately, he couldn't find them, so they had to settle for the team that worked on the game. Sorry, I just made that part up. Since Giger's disturbing images have had such a profound impact on science fiction literature and cinema, he designed creatures appearing in the films Alien, Poltergeist 2, and Species, it seemed fitting that the sequel should have a literary quality. Designer Raymond Benson, whose software credits include Stephen King's The Mist, Ultima 7, The Black Gate, Return of the Phantom, and Are You Afraid of the Dark, was commissioned to write a story that continued Mike Dawson's horrifying adventures. Also, funny to note, I guess, I didn't know that there was a Phantom of the Opera game until recently, being, of course, this one here, Return of the Phantom. I'm 100% going to play that soon. I love the Phantom of the Opera, and now that I know Raymond Benson helped design it, man, it's a slam dunk. Any case, back to Darkseed 2. Instructed that the sequel also must take Mike Dawson from our normal world into Giger's dark world, Benson crafted a psychological murder mystery that begins in a quirky, quote-unquote David Lynchian small town and draws us into a terrifying alternate universe that is a metaphor for madness. Well, there you go, see? Metaphor for madness. Those who reach the game's chilling conclusion will appreciate how well Benson's tale allegorizes what Giger says about his art. I expel these creatures and their pain by painting them onto a surface, trapping them forever. In a somewhat symbolic manner, I also free myself. Who wrote this instruction manual? I'm curious, because I'm wondering if Benson himself wrote it. No, I shouldn't say that. I don't know. So I'm just taking a look through. I want to see if it does say who wrote this book. I don't know. Actually, interesting enough, on the credits page, it says it was written and designed by Raymond Benson. So there you go. Anyway, I'm sorry. Let me get back to the making of section. Oh, Raymond Benson. Okay. Giger later requested that the sequel include images that had recently been haunting him, including a sled carrying a vat down the banister of an endless staircase, inspired by Giger's Shaft pieces. Since Benson had moved on to other projects, Cyberdreams consulted science fiction author John Shirley, who's known for the Eclipse trilogy and the screenplay for The Crow. Oh, there you go. They consulted John Shirley on how to fit Giger's visuals into the sequel, and he also contributed many additional ideas for fleshing out the Dark World. To put the finishing touches on the game dialogue, Cyberdreams brought in Keith Herber, a horror author who edited the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game and is an expert on H.P. Lovecraft. Once the game design was complete, Cyberdreams hired Destiny Software Productions of Vancouver, Canada, to implement it. For the original Darkseed, Giger had insisted that Cyberdreams use a high-resolution VGA graphics mode, which was 640 by 350 pixels, or 16 colors, to avoid the square and jagged look found in most computer games at the time. So that the sequel would also be visually cutting-edge, Destiny's programming team enhanced the graphics routine to support even more advanced graphics mode. Or, I should have said, an even more advanced graphics mode, if you want to read right, which was SVGA 640 by 480 pixels or 256 colors. And of course, this was running under a Windows or Windows 95 environment. To create the character animations of Mike Dawson and the other normal world denizens, Destiny photographed the movements of live models with a high-speed camera. They then scanned the photographs into digital form and played the images back as animations. I feel like they must have lost some of the animations then, because some of those walking animations are choppy. Although I did remember someone saying that the team lost some of their files or what have you, or they had to redo the game from scratch. Maybe that says it in here. Maybe I should stop talking. Sorry. In addition to professional performers, some of Destiny's staff members volunteered to be character models. By a happy coincidence, artist Chris Gilbert was a dead ringer for the Mike Dawson character from the original Darkseed, and a legend was born. The art team at Destiny also proved to be skilled at combining a variety of imagery from Giger's fantastic artwork and using both 2D and 3D techniques to create new Dark World backgrounds. Several months into the project's development, Moloch, Cyberdreams' art director Peter Delgado, and Destiny artist Greg Hagman visited Giger's home in Zurich to show off their progress. Giger was very impressed with the graphic improvements over the original Darkseed, and offered many helpful suggestions about scaling, placement, and composition. One of his most significant contributions was the placement of the metal catwalks throughout the Dark World, so that Mike Dawson would always feel in peril being continuously suspended over a bottomless pit. That's actually pretty cool. I didn't know that Giger helped with that. So that the normal world would have an equally distinct look, Cyberdreams enlisted the talents of artist Jeff Hilbers to create the normal world backgrounds. Hilbers, who has previously served as an art director on producer Moloch's projects when both were at the Walt Disney Company, brought his unique sense of the macabre to Mike Dawson's hometown. The quaint images of what superficially appears to be a pleasant community proves on closer inspection to be infected with perversity, showing the Dark World's growing influence on Crowley, Texas. Audio was the final element needed to immerse you into Giger's ghastly universe. The Cyberdreams commissioned television and film composer Mark Morgan to write more than 20 pieces of original MIDI music for the adventure. Mark Morgan is known for Stephen King's The Stand television miniseries. After that, music producer David B. Schultz of DBS Music then specially arranged for optimum performance on the Sound Blaster AWE32 card. Destiny Software Productions then added haunting sound effects and ambiance throughout the game, such as the snake hissing, I guess. With more than 40 speaking parts in the adventure, Cyberdreams contracted Lisa Wasserman of Virtual Casting to cast and direct some of the finest voiceover actors performing in interactive entertainment. The dialogue sessions were recorded at LucasArts' Old Skywalker Sound Facilities in Los Angeles by Cheshire Multimedia Sound. Sound engineers Todd Bozung and Greg Chapman digitally enhanced many of the voices to help dramatize Giger's world of biomechanoids, goddesses, and diabolical creatures. Upholding Cyberdreams' reputation for innovative packaging, Director of Sales and Marketing Andrew Balzer commissioned Bright and Associates to create a box design that was as provocative as the adventure contained within. The box showcases a portion of Giger's 1978 piece, Illuminatus I, in which a woman's cheek is pierced by her safety pin sunglasses. The adventure will be made available through the efforts of Cyberdreams' sales and marketing team of Andrew Balzer and Daniel Pelly together with MGM Interactive, responsible for the North American distribution, and Cyberdreams' foreign distributors. The production, development, and marketing team for Darkseed 2 have unleashed a new horror into Mike Dawson's unending nightmare. As you take this dark journey into the depths of madness, we hope that, as Giger tries to do with his own artwork, you free yourself of some of your own demons. Whew, that was a mouthful. But that's cool. It's got a lot of information and history that I wouldn't have known otherwise. So anyway, let's move on to Cyberdreams itself. About Cyberdreams. Cyberdreams was formed to create high-quality interactive entertainment software for home computers and dedicated game systems. Each product is designed, scripted, and storyboarded by gameplay experts and world-famous artists, designers, writers, and filmmakers such as H.R. Giger, who's known for Alien and Species, Sid Mead, I probably said that wrong, who's known for Blade Runner, Tron, and 2010, Harlan Ellison, who's the most honored author in the world of imaginative literature, and Wes Craven, creator of A Nightmare on Elm Street. What do they do with Wes Craven? I'm kind of interested in that. Anyways, Cyberdreams' audience is adult science fiction enthusiasts who appreciate sophisticated storylines, state-of-the-art animation, and cutting-edge interactive technology. Huh. So that's pretty cool. I kind of wish that they had done like some videos for this, because they could have put that on the disc along with all the scenes from the game. That's cool. They also have a list of who played which character in the book as well, so I'll have that up on the screen here. So yeah, that was both a couple chapters from the strategy guide and some things from the instruction manual. Hope you found that a little bit interesting. Next time we'll do chapter 2 from the strategy guide and we'll go from there. So as always, thank you for watching. Hey y'all, a beta version demo of my game, Tales of Hyperia the Crimson Knight, is available to play over at my itch.io page. The link is down in the description. The final demo version is set to release by the end of the year, and will see massive improvements and upscaling. Make sure you stay tuned for updates.